how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's the Weekend Update. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Good morning, sir. Well, we're just days, literally hours, depending when you listen to this, away from a new president being sworn in. Inside, not outside, because, well, we got that, vortex, that cold vortex going on. So, you got that.
Do you hear some of the people on the left, like Stephen Colbert, right? Now, Stephen Colbert is one of the most unfunny people I've ever seen on television. Yet for the last
he's a comedian?
Yeah, he does the late night. He's the guy who took over for David Letterman. Anyway, Colbert last night, he does like a moratorium open. I want to play it for you.
Tide is just a little bit of sweet and sour. A little semi-sweet chocolate chip. It's the end of an era because this is our last show of the Biden administration. Yeah, it's been a good run. Yeah. It's been a good run, Joe. Thank you for all your efforts. Next time you all see me, Donald Trump will be president, and you may not see me. Next 4 years, we're taking this one day at a time. Last night, still President Biden gave his farewell address to the nation. Now, in typical Biden style.
What's interesting, I wanted to point something out to you. You heard the people say, when Biden, he mentioned Biden first, but then he said next week it'll be President Trump. And you would have expected boos normally from the audience.
There was not.
There was no boos. It was like,
well, quiet. I'm sure there was booze before and after the show, but not booze.
No booze.
But, the interesting thing is, he's talking like that. Biden was a great president. But the fact is, it's coming out now that what happened in 2020 is they knew Biden back then. He was hiding in his basement. He didn't have the gravitas. He didn't have the mental capabilities of being the president, quote, unquote. Therefore, Schumer and Pelosi and the Democratic Party, they ran a scam. So please explain to me again that Joe Robinette Biden won the 2020 election. And we know about the server BS that was going on in Wisconsin, where the guy's sitting upstairs going, we don't have enough votes. We need more Biden votes coming in. Okay, we'll do that.
And
they lied.
An insider bill at the White House says that the place is like a morgue. Everyone is, not everyone, Joe and the first family are depressed. Depressed. Joe is delusional. Joe is delusional. He thinks he won.
Well, usually when somebody dies, they are embalmed. In this particular case,
he's sent to Delaware.
He died before he got in there. He's going to be outbombed. So he's done. Hey, by the way, before we forget, Right Side Coffee. Let me, while you describe Right Side Coffee, I will.
Oh, I have to describe it? I wanted to take a sip.
I was going to take a sip.
I was going to take a sip. All right, I'll do it. Hey, listen, friends. If you're looking for a great cup of coffee, I know there are a lot of brands out there. You have a lot of choices, but you probably haven't tried Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee is absolutely delicious. It's delicious. It's made from the finest roasted coffee beans available. It's a medium blend roast. We also have a medium decaf blend for those of you who can't have caffeine. It's absolutely delicious. Now, you probably are saying, I haven't seen that in the stores. You won't. The only place you can buy it is at our storefront online, which is rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. And all you need is a credit card. You use your credit card, and bingo, it'll be in the mail to you, and you'll have it before you know it. And you'll be very happy, very satisfied with the flavor and the taste of Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee.
And the packaging on it is very cool, designed to be a collector's item. I mean, some people are taking.
Do you know the designer, Bill?
No, but I've seen the work, but I do know this. This
What's
is
that?
a fact. Some people are taking the empty coffee bag,
Yes.
right? And they're actually having it matted and framed.
No kidding.
It's that
I
damn
know
good.
the designer. I know the designer very well.
I heard he's an idiot, but
No, no.
he did that design.
I'm looking at the designer right now. And he did a heck of a job. Now, some people are also taking those bags when they're empty, and they're taking them in their hand and they're blowing air into them, and then they're hitting them really hard against their other hand.
Popping them,
Yeah, exactly.
That's how much they like the design.
Exactly. And by the way, we are the only coffee company in the world that employ that internationally renowned band, known far and wide, from coast to coast, from border to border, around the world and up your block. Jose and Juan and the Border Crossers, and they're here right now to sing their jingle.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
They do such a nice job, consistently good, just like our coffee.
Yes, yeah, they are. So check it out, rightsideshop.com. Get the Right Side Coffee, Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. And Juan and the Border Crossers, thank God we're not out of Chicago, because there's going to be massive deportation raids going on in Chicago this coming week.
Well, it's funny you say that. Here's Tom Holman talking to a crowd of Chicagoans about that.
We're going to get it done. Chicago's going to be safer. The streets be safer. We're not going to move every criminal off the streets of Chicago so someone hurt aliens. But I tell you what, a certain percentage are. And I'll never say that every criminal in this city is an illegal alien. I'll never say that every illegal alien is a criminal. I won't say that.
But they all want.
But let me ask you this. When they talk about, you know what? I'm going to end with something else. Let me end with one thing. They say sanctuary cities are a policy that protects the immigrant community. They want victims and witnesses to feel comfortable going to law enforcement, and they won't come to law enforcement. They feel like they're working with ICE. That is a bunch of crap. Because the victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy back in the neighborhood. And that's what sanctuary cities does. Sanctuaries are sanctuaries for criminals only. So you're going to release the criminal back into the community? You think the victim witness really want that? Of course they don't. And let me tell you something. When you release them back in the community, where is that illegal alien likely to reoffend? In the immigrant community.
In the black community.
In the black community.
That's right.
And when you release them in the community, it just means I got to send more agents in the community.
Come on, we ready.
So, get rid of the sanctuary policies. We're going to sue sanctuary cities on the next administration.
The quality of that isn't all that great, but you kind of get the feeling of the enthusiasm of the crowd. Those are minorities, Chicago minorities in that group, and they want those illegals out of town.
Look, he's going to clean that mess up so good. You'll be able to go to Chicago and not have any pots, pans, plates, forks, knives, and be able to eat right off the street.
Well,
It'll be that clean.
I'll
when
tell
they
you.
get rid of all
You know, he
that
said
crap
the only sanctuary cities only benefit the criminal. He said, which is true.
Yeah, they do. That's true.
Which is, it doesn't benefit the law-abiding taxpayer.
Let me ask you. You go into Chicago and you do a clean sweep in there. Mm-hmm. Does that send a signal to all the other sanctuary cities, to all the other illegal immigrants, like, maybe I ought to just pack up my stuff and get my butt out of here?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Bill, because I was reading an article just last night that there's already illegals who are self-deporting.
Well, yeah. Hey, you know what? Don't let the border gate hit you in the butt on the way out.
That's right. So
I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm saying you want to come here, you're welcome. But there is a proper way. And this was not a proper way. And you were brought here under false pretenses.
And Bill,
and
none of these people are walking away a loser, because they all got benefits and money and gifts and, stuff from us.
They were getting Social Security. We talk about draining Social Security, and it's not going to be there. That in and of itself. Now, if they were here, worked for it, and paid in, granted, I understand it was originally a Ponzi scheme, but the simple fact is we can take care of our people, and, you get what you're entitled to, and probably improve this system to where you can live a nice, healthy, entire extended life, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But not if we give it away to everybody else.
How would you like to be a leftist liberal from Pacific Palisades who has lost everything, and you were one of these people who were just you were just so happy that these illegals were coming across the border. You had no problem with California being a sanctuary state, and then you find out that the people lighting the fire and burned down your property, your house, was an illegal with a blowtorch.
Well, it was illegals, and it was climate change people and people with an agenda, a political agenda. You know what? And when they're found, any of these people, if you're an illegal and you're torching a major U.S. city, even a small U.S. city that might have population 1 or 2, I'm sorry, to me that's a federal crime, and you need to pay a price for that. Now, if you are part of a group that has got, a political stance, climate change or whatever that is, well, that's federal crime too. And I think it's a pretty stout federal crime for you. And a price has to be paid.
People don't seem to realize that just the act of coming into this country illegally is a crime. We seem to have, we're a good country, and we seem to have already, well, not everybody's a criminal who came across the border. No. Technically, everybody who broke our law to come across the border and to come into our country is factually a criminal. Now, I'm not saying that they're all going to be handled the same way. I mean, if a gang member, who's committing crimes is taken and sent back home, I'm sure he'll be handled differently than the family who was just trying to, was swept up in the whole movement. And a lot of people were. I'm sure a lot of people were said, look, we'll pay for your walk across Mexico, and we'll give you food and water and new shoes and maybe bus you from town to town. We'll take care of you. We'll help you get to the border. Maybe they were caught up in that whole movement, considering where they were coming from. But go ahead, Bill. You wanted to?
No.
I also wanted to say before I forget, there's a guy named Josh Altman. He's a celebrity realtor, very successful out in Southern California. Listen to what he said about people who are going to be stuck because of these fires. People who won't be
they're losing it all.
Everything, Bill.
They want to move back to the Palisades. Are they considering moving elsewhere? Do they?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Look, this is hard to say. I strongly believe that 50% of the people who lived in the Palisades are not going to be moving back to the Palisades.
Why?
Yeah, and honestly, that number wasn't as big last week in my mind, but after the phone calls that I've been getting, people who are moving to Brentwood, Santa Monica, Bel Air, Beverly Hills, those are going to be the markets that are going to go up because people want to be as close to normalcy as possible.
Yeah.
And those are those towns right around the Palisades.
Yeah.
Those are going to go up, that market. That's where they're going to move. It's going to be too long. You got to realize Palisades is the all-American town, right?
Yeah.
The families are running around. It's like what you picture towns in movies that we used to watch.
Yeah.
These kids that are 5 years old right now that live in the Palisades and go to school, there's a chance that if things don't move fast, it could be 4 to 5 years before they're back there. These kids are now 10. They're going to different schools,
right,
different lives now, so it's tough because picture you living on a street, you're the first house finished, and every other house on the street is in construction.
Yeah.
Think about that. You don't want to do that. You want to wake up every single morning and be reminded of that.
Right, it's traumatic.
I'm negotiating almost a dozen deals right now on land in the Palisades, much faster than I ever thought I would be doing. People are already trying to sell their dirt, knowing that they're not going to go back there, to home builders that will then build their house and either keep it or sell it.
So because obviously some people with the Woolsey fire, this could be their second time rebuilding with Malibu and stuff like that.
It's just hard.
Who's going to move to the Palisades, or are we going to see that city kind of?
The calls that I've got have been across the board of I'm 70 years old. I just evacuated for my last time. I'm out. I'm never going
Where
back.
are they going?
Okay, that was the Palisades. So they're either going locally or because of, they're fed up with the regulations and government, they're out. California, and if they're not and they're out of LA, they're going down to Newport Beach.
Oh,
yeah, I'm getting a huge amount of calls from people who want to move down to Orange County.
Really?
Yeah. Majority of the people, unfortunately, because I've been on the phone with my insurance agent for hours every day.
Yeah.
Majority of the people were heavily uninsured. And that's an issue. And that's why they're not going to go back to the Palisades.
Yeah.
Because in order to recreate the house that they lived in, their dream house, they're not going to be able to afford it. And that's just the horrible thing.
I mean, let's say you're the first person to start rebuilding your property. You get your house built first, right? You move back into your new house, and up and down the street for days and months, maybe even years, all you're hearing is saws and hammers and construction. Do you want to be in that environment at home?
No, but what can happen is somebody can buy up that property in several pieces of dirt.
Right.
And cobble together a pretty nice, large, several acre estate, and then just build one domicile there. A very nice house to where you have more room.
Oh,
around.
sure.
So,
and that's going to happen, Bill. You're right. So some people who have a phenomenal amount of money are going to say, look, I'm going to build my house here, and I'm going to buy those 10 lots around me. Yeah, I'll buy them all. And
I'll buy them all, and that way I can run around naked I can mow my front lawn nude. Because there's enough area, and then there's trees around and everything. Nobody's going to know. And, you're not going to hear anything.
But and I guess the thing is, this neighborhood will never be what it was, ever.
No.
Ever.
It'll be beautiful, palatious, what they build, but you've got to be able to afford it. And the people that can afford it don't have to worry about insurance.
Yeah.
They're going, I lost a $20 million home. That's okay. You know what? Now that it's gone, I'm going to build a $50 million home or a $100 million home. But I'm buying, there were 40 houses that were gone. I'll buy up all that property, bulldoze it, landscape it. It's mine.
But here's the thing. I wouldn't put a dime into that neighborhood till I knew from the state that they were going to clean up their act with regard to the forests around my house. I wouldn't want to, if they say nothing's going to change and we're not going to clear the undergrowth and we're not going to have any fire cuts, I would say, no, I'm done. I'm not.
Well, you can build a barrier, though, because if you got all that property and you take it and level it and just put normal grass there and stuff, you're going to pay a lot to keep it up. But,
you would think that would be the case, but there were buildings down in the business areas that caught fire and burned because of the sparks and the cinders and things like that.
That's if you believe everything, but then you hear about somebody that's with climate change, that they're a big proactive person, and they're out there, what are you doing there? I'm lighting a fire. I'm starting a park on fire. Come on, this is climate change.
Well,
let's get real. So
we're not being told the truth right now about all this stuff. And
we never will. It's like Biden won the election in 2020. Yeah, from his basement. Now it's coming out that Schumer and Pelosi and Obama sat there and said, this guy he's not mentally capable to be president. We'll get him in and we'll pull the strings. And they did. And Jill is upset and everybody's, because she loved the power. She didn't care how it got there.
I know. She's angry. She's angry at everybody. She's at Obama, at Kamala.
Well, it's going to come out. Somebody's going to get mad and just spill the beans. And Obama right now, he's too busy trying to cover up the fact that he's headed for a divorce.
Yeah.
Because Michael don't want to be with him no more. I mean, Michelle.
Well, they say, I haven't seen it, but they say that Barack actually posted an unflattering picture about Michelle.
I saw it.
Did you see the picture?
Yeah, it's a big, long, conference table, and she is not dressed up too well, or he, and they're just kind of sitting there going,
really?
On one side, and he's on the other side going, so, imagine you're having dinner with your spouse, and it's a big, long conference table. Now, you're not at the each end, but across from each other, and there's a lot of space in between. And
What do you think
nobody's
happens,
really
Bill?
smiling.
If what do you think happens if what the speculation is true? What do you think happens if we find out that for 8 years we didn't have a first lady, we had a first gentleman in that position?
Well, it really doesn't matter, if that's how he identified, because as long as Barack was mentally sound to run the country,
and maybe that's what they're thinking, Bill. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe they're thinking, well, look, it's a different time now. If you're tired, Mike, of dressing up as a woman every day, you want to come out in your whatever, your shorts and your T-shirt.
I think it went to hell with Biden. I think during that time, and Barack was at his little private skib across the street trying to run the country, I think Michelle, Michael, whatever, just sat there and got tired of politics and finally just said, I've had enough of this. I like the limelight and everything, but this is a sham, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. And if that is what Michelle or Michael is saying, then you know what? Hats off to them for thinking that way, because it was a sham, and in life you should be honest, you should be happy.
Well, anyway, the big story now this weekend, of course, is the inauguration on Monday. And there's a lot of speculation. The word is that they're going inside now. They're going to have the inauguration in the Capitol Rotunda, which is great. I like that. I think it's a smart move. And they're saying they're doing it because of the intense cold, the polar vortex that's coming down from the northwest. Actually, it's coming from Siberia, if you want to know. And this polar vortex is going to have a high on Monday of 10 degrees in Washington, D.C., I don't blame it. People will be freezing out there, standing out there with no movement. It would be brutal.
There are going to be some negative temperatures, and probably where you are and I am, because it's coming down. We're going to be in our shorts are going to be frozen to our bodies, And I mean, I'm sitting here going, I'm not looking forward to this. I'm going to be running to the store getting some supplies to sit there and say,
"Oh yeah,
I'm not going outside," because I'm not.
What you should do on this weekend. Go out and start your car. Make sure it's running. Don't just let it sit over the weekend and then have the temperatures drop to like zero. You'll have a hard time, no matter how good your battery is, you'll have a hard time starting your car. You're going to see that AAA is going to be very busy next week. Very busy.
Buy some bags of salt. Make sure you got a snow shovel. You got a blower. Everything like that. Have some water. Do remember, you got to turn the water on. You don't want your pipes to freeze, but have some water there so that you're able to do things. You might want to fill up a few jugs too, to, if it freezes, flush toilets.
Well, little things like you might want to just leave a faucet dripping.
Going.
Yeah, trickle, so you don't have frozen pipes. And if you're traveling over the weekend, you might want to bring a lot of blankets and maybe some warmers and some water and flashlights, and because if you break down, let's say you break down on a dark highway somewhere like the Pennsylvania Turnpike where there's not a lot of activity, you might want to make sure that you're not going to freeze to death in your car.
Yeah, that's true. Blankets. I don't know if there's going to be snow or ice, but let's just say you kind of go off the road and you got snow and your tires are spinning or ice. Buy a bag. Buy a little garden shovel.
Kitty litter.
Put that in your trunk. And then buy kitty litter. 2 big bags of it. One over each wheel well. That way you've got weight for traction.
Smart
But
move.
also, if your tires are spinning, you stop, get out, open up the trunk. You open up a bag. You take that shovel, and you put it in front of the tire and a little bit behind so you can kind of rock and get some traction and get going.
That's exactly right. That's a very good piece of advice. A lot of people don't realize that, Bill. But things like kitty litter, you have to be overly cautious when the weather's as deadly as it's going to be for the next few days.
Make sure you've got your cell phone charged. And the other thing I might do is I might stop by Walmart and pay $30 and get a walkie-talkie.
Yes.
That has like a 5-mile range. That way you have Channel 9. The cops still monitor that. And you can say, Yeah, this is Victor Vargas, and I'm broken down and I'm freezing out here. Does
Yes.
anybody hear me? I'm at the corner. Well, you could sit there and wait, and you do it on Channel 9, and even you can get them to identify to make sure that you know that you're not telling this to a looter, and then that.
I mean,
you've
you
got
might
some
not
problems.
have cell coverage where you're at. You
Yeah,
know.
and if you're in a concealed carry state and you got a concealed carry, keep that in your car with you too, because there are going to be people of ill intent that sit
Yes.
there and go, "Hey, let's take advantage of this,"
Yep.
and they will.
That's true. Anyway, but people are saying that the inauguration is going inside because of the weather, but there are some people who are saying, wait, that's the cover. It makes sense. Yes, the weather's great, but they're also doing it for security because there have been threats against the the incoming president. What do you think?
Well, that could be. I haven't seen the threats. I've heard tell of the threats. So if it were me coming into office, I would probably take the precautions. But I don't know that it came from Trump. I think it came from the people around him, because Trump is a very, let's just get out and shake the hands and wallow in the mud with the people. That's
What he's
he
doing?
does.
You know what he's doing tomorrow night on Sunday night?
Another rally.
Yes, he's doing a rally.
Well, here's the fact. Now, this, I think, is smart. People go, why is he doing it? He's not. He's going to be campaigning because he's going to be a dictator. No, he is going to do rallies continuing and maybe on a weekly basis or semi-weekly basis. And the reason for that is it's like a press conference to the public. Hey, I'm here in Boise, Idaho. Here's what we've done, and things are great. How's it going? And also, it gives him a chance to have 50,000 people there that are going, yeah, we're not so happy about that.
Well, you know what he's also doing after the inauguration? He's going to, is it the Carrier Center? He's going to some big stadium in the D.C. area to thank everybody. There'll be thousands of people there on Inauguration Day. So
now, let me ask you, because he's got Carrie Underwood, he's got Lee Greenwood,
Right.
He's got a cadre of stars that are going to be Kid Rock, a bunch of people. I mean, it's like a weekend concert fest. They're all performing. So are they going to go to that stadium?
I don't know.
Cold there, or because that's a lot of talent to just waste inside the White House. Because what are you going to have? A couple of hundred people, and that's it.
I think he's going to do it at the. It's an enclosed place. I don't think he's doing it outside.
Right.
He is. He's not. He's going to be a hard guy to protect. Okay, let's just be very blunt. He's going to be very difficult to protect. I was watching a report on the Secret Service and their plans for protecting him, and they had all this intricate setup in place for the parade from the Capitol to the White House. And that's when usually he gets out of the car with Melania and waves at the people. They planned on that, but now because it's gone inside and things are changing, they're having to kind of change it on the fly, if you know what I mean. And I just wonder, how hard is it going to be to protect Donald Trump? I think it'll be really hard.
Well, these guys are trained to protect a president anywhere. They didn't do too good of a job in Butler.
No, they sure did.
But I understand he's got he's firing the director of the FBI, and he's got somebody new to put in place.
The guy, if you remember the iconic picture of in Butler when Trump got up and he's raising his fist in the air, and
Tall
right
guy?
in front of him is a tall guy with sunglasses. He's going to be the new director of the Secret Service. That guy. So,
well, I mean, he was there, and it was interesting. I had that picture. Still stands out. And look, it doesn't matter what you feel about Trump, whether you hate him or you like him. The guy is on the path. He's already doing things that are going to be iconic and memorable. He's probably going to get a Nobel Peace Prize. He's probably going to go down in history strong as Reagan. Strong as Reagan, maybe stronger, because he's got a bigger mess to clean up than Reagan had, and Reagan did a damn good job.
They say by this time next week, we will see a massive change in policy and government already. That's like a week into his presidency or less. Mm-hmm. And anyway, Kaylee, go ahead.
I was going to say, heads up. We talked about Bitcoin and might
Right.
talk about that later, but he's got a new coin out there, the Trump coin. It just launched.
The guy's amazing. He really is.
So I mean,
We got a lot more to
before
talk about, but I want to play Kayleigh McEnany.
Yeah.
She's from Fox,
yeah.
and she talks about the similarities between the inauguration of Trump and the second inauguration of Reagan. Listen.
And as we look at this, this has happened twice from what I've researched, 1909 with Howard Taft and then 1985 with Ronald Reagan. And what's interesting to me is the Ronald Reagan comparison, because not only is the inauguration indoors, you have the hostage release, really right before Trump comes in. You had the assassination attempt, Ronald Reagan as well. Trump is kind of a Reagan-esque president in more ways than one.
And I think that what this represents, too, is that you don't have to do something just because that's how it was always done. Here's a president that, to me, hallmarks his decision-making in the same way, which is, let me assess the current situation. Here are the factors. It's not tenable to be outside, so we're going to move it inside. I mean, we see this stuff often with other large events, and I think the reality is that the storied history of this and the solemnity and the iconography that we're all going to be watching and how important and crucial this event is, all of that remains the same. And now everyone's going to be a lot more comfortable. And we don't have to look at Bernie Sanders memes and mittens on, right? The reality is we have here in New York, we're expecting temperatures colder than 2 years past, I believe, historically. So he's absolutely right to protect those Americans that are going to see this historic and wonderful event. So bravo for making a common sense decision that will, in the long run, protect a lot of Americans. And
Now, on the other hand, all right, I was thinking of this too. A lot of preparation has gone into getting ready for the inauguration. They built a viewing stand in front of the White House. I mean, it's taken them since September to build that viewing stand. It's not needed now because it's not going to be a parade. The podium and the stands on top of the Capitol have taken months to build for the inauguration, and that's not going to be used either. But the good thing is, if you're a bad guy and you've been planning on doing something at those areas, at those sites, now you've thrown a monkey wrench into their plans too. Now they don't have the certainty that Trump will be here, here, and here. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but you know what? If you're planning something, when you're planning the outdoor event, you always plan it fail-safe, and it might be an indoor event.
Well, now you say that, Bill, but not everybody does.
Well, but if you're smart, you do. So I would make the assumption that the bad guy is somewhat smart and might think that, just on the outside chance it goes inside.
You're a smart guy.
Do this.
If you were the assassin, I agree. I think that'd be the case. But let's look historically. John Wilkes Booth, there was no planned fail-safe. He was seat of his pants. Lee Harvey Oswald. He's up in a supposedly school book depository, and if you believe that the story that they give you, there was no backup plan. As a matter of fact, he was a lone wolf, although I don't believe that. Let's look at the guy in Butler, this guy Crooks, Thomas Matthew Crooks. If you believe the story we've been fed, he was a lone 20-year-old disgruntled kid, a loner. He got up on a roof and he missed, and they got him, and that's it. And there was no backup. I don't believe that. If you listen to the audio, you'll hear that there are multiple sounding reports from the rifles, meaning there were different guns being used from different locations. But that's the story we're being told. So, I mean, yes, if you're a government assassin, a trained professional assassin, I agree with you 100%. And I think, Bill, that's what they're talking about. You have backups,
Yeah, I look, if it were me, I'd have a backup. That's all there is to it. And you do that. You don't fly willy-nilly by the seat of your pants like Joe Biden. Of course, I don't think he's flying the ship. I think that, again, and it's coming unraveled now, we're going to find out that he was never capable of winning. And, in fact, if we go back and do the forensics, which I guess there's evidence out there that they're going to be able to do it, he wasn't in charge, which then will bring into question everything that he has done is moot. But you know what? There are 48 hours, roughly since we're from when we're doing this to him officially being done and gone. And everything he does, or whoever it is under him does, is to for hate's sake, to spit at thee, with their last
didn't he
breath.
didn't he just pardon another 2,500 criminals?
Yes, he did that, I think, the day before yesterday. He pardoned 2,500 more.
Yeah.
What is he going to do today, and what is he going to do tomorrow? Now, there's also Jill Biden, who is very bitter. And, now, speaking of split-ups, there are rumors that she was having some liaisons.
Yeah,
with,
I heard that,
think
too.
An FBI agent or something.
No, Secret Service. Head of her Secret Service, yeah.
Okay, so let's say she was doing that. And she's not happy about all this. She was mad when Schumer and Pelosi and all of them got together, and she's not speaking to them, to take Biden out because that took away her power.
Well, where is it going for her right now? It's going to a retirement. It's going for her to be a caregiver for Joe for the remainder of his days. Eey.
Man, I don't think I don't see his remaining days to be very long. And I think she's a get-even kind of person. She's very vengeful.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't get her way, she talks. She leaks.
Well,
it's not going to help her, but it's not going to help them either.
He's going to he's got to pardon his whole family. I'm waiting for that to happen. He has to pardon everybody in the Biden family.
But if he comes up to be an idiot, then none of those pardons are worth the paper they're written on.
And maybe by the way, that's what Trump has on him. Maybe what he has on him is proof positive that it was a fraudulent election in 2020. And now that he's in government and he has the Justice Department working honestly, maybe he figures it'll be a slam dunk to prove that it was stolen.
I will tell you this. I don't think that all of America will buy the truth. They can't handle it. They are so indoctrinated and programmed that even when they see that they were under a false flag, they're not going to want to admit it. They're going to deny it. And and those are the ones, as much as you might know them and love them, they're the ones to be worried about because they're the ones that will be, lashing out in desperation. And you never know what they can do.
So even though we only have 48 hours till the new presidency, keep those prayers coming for the safety of our new president because we're getting down to crunch time. And if they're going to do anything, it might be in this period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So other news. The clock ticks for TikTok. Apparently, it's going to go away, and there's some interesting developments.
You mentioned this. I don't use TikTok. I never have. When they said it was a tool for China, I'm talking about 2 years ago. I said I'm not going to get involved. I don't need another social media thing, especially one that has a direct link. When they told me, and this supposedly is true, that they have actually 2 TikToks. One TikTok for the Chinese people, which is more educational and uplifting, and then they had this slimy TikTok that they give to the rest of the Western world. I figured, I'll pass.
Let's go back to the Chinese TikTok. There's different rules and agendas there.
Right.
Now, the TikTok's algorithm is the TikTok algorithm. Yeah, but they do have a different one, and they do, if they say it's educational, let's define that. They have different standards there. The freedom of speech is not quite what it is here, and expression. And there, it's more, they call it education, but it's propaganda, and just to mind wash them into China's great, you are good, you are smarter than Americans. That's what they're doing. Now, here, they're shutting it down. They're saying, well, the algorithm, is to, get into people's personal business and steal their stuff. Let me ask you a question. Now, when you sit there and do a Google search, wasn't like this 4 or 5 years ago, but it has since the Biden has gotten in, all of a sudden you see what you want to get and a pop-up comes up going, you have to accept these cookies, before, or do you want to modify? But if you say, no, I don't want cookies, it takes you out of takes you out of what you're looking for. They want access to your computer where you keep your bank account stuff, all your personal information. We already do that here with Facebook. We do it with Google. We do it with even the TikToks and Truth Social and Getter. It gets information. That's just the way the software works because we've allowed it to happen here. But to save TikTok, it's interesting because you would get fined if they were allowed to go, and I guess people have certain things they can, even though TikTok is quote unquote shut down as midnight tomorrow?
I heard, tomorrow night.
Yeah. You get fined for each session, it's like $5,000 times 100,000 or something like that. In other words, this astronomical fine has been put to it to where you would lose billions, if not trillions of dollars. So, yeah, they're not going to run that system.
Mm-hmm.
You know who wants to buy it?
What?
Kevin O'Leary. He said,
I love that. This guy's a smart guy. This guy's a real smart guy.
$20 billion cash. No questions asked. That's it. He takes it. He cleans it. He has it back out there running, and it'll work the same way that it always did. It's TikTok. I have a TikTok account.
$20 billion. How do they walk away from that? Really?
Well, but he did this caveat. He goes, I hope it's enough. I'm waiting to see if it's enough. He didn't say, I hope it's enough. He goes, I'm waiting to see if it's enough, which indicates
he's got more if I have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, how deep and how far will he go? Then Mark Cuban goes, well, I got to get in on this action. Nah, he wouldn't go with me as an investor. So he found another platform that's out there, but he goes, I'm willing to pony up money for anybody that builds the alternative to TikTok. So,
but that's going to take longer, don't you? That's going to take longer, don't you think? Or do you think there's are there platforms out there already that are close to TikTok?
Yeah, there's a B something or other, but the thing is, it's like a B green, B blue, or something. Whatever it is a platform that's out there that allows you to have your own server and connect with that and connect with all the other servers. So it kind of works the same way, but it gives you, I guess, a little more control.
Yeah.
So he's looking at that. I'm going like social media, it's part of our lives. AI is
the money that must be involved. I mean, the money that must be made from these things, and it's hard to imagine how they do that. But these little pop-up ads and things like that you see on these different sites, they must be designed to be effective in a short period of time. I know when I see them, I wait the mandatory length of time, and then it'll say skip, and I hit skip, and I'm out of it.
Digital algorithms are the gold of today and the future. And the thing about digital algorithms is they're infinite. So when you look at it that way,
Bill, I invested in Truth Social about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I haven't really.
But here's your problem. You invested in Truth Social, my honest opinion, which was a smart move because Trump is a good bet.
Right.
He hasn't pulled out of that. He's holding on to it. He doesn't hold on to failures.
Right.
But he knew that he was being blocked. And I don't want to say the word, but he was being blocked from every level from the left.
Yes.
Anything he put his hands on, screw that up. Do anything you can to screw it up. They wanted to lock him up. They wanted him out of the way.
Right.
So if you invested in that, not only did they hurt Trump, but they hurt you.
So maybe there's some hope in the future that Truth Social will take off now that he's in office. And like you said, by the way, I was going to point out, you mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize in a couple of years. That was from Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan said that, a guy in England, by the way. But he said Trump is positioned now to be a real worldwide hero.
Now, the one thing that I had noted that I was a little bit leery about is, I didn't know this happened, but it did. You know, a lot of people, like, Fetterman went to meet with Trump, and Trump said, well, Fetterman is actually, okay,
I got this, Bill. I know where we're going with this. I got this next.
Okay, but Bill Gates.
Yes.
He met with Bill Gates.
Yep.
And they're talking about, getting rid of HIV, which I'm going, well, you know what? If you can do that, that's great. Polio, great. And I'm going like, if you can take a perceived and known bad guy and get him on the good side, and you get all that, his research capabilities, facilities, and all of that going, okay. If we can make a healthier, better world, let's do it.
Here's what it sounded like.
Have you met with Donald Trump since the election?
Yeah, I had a chance to go have a long and actually quite intriguing dinner with him.
What did you discuss? What was intriguing?
Well, we touched on a lot of things. It was over 3 hours. To my surprise, it was, just he and I, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and the person who helps manage things for me, Larry Cohen. So the four of us sat there, and it was quite wide-ranging. Global health's the area that I work in, and such amazing things have happened and can happen there. I spoke a lot about HIV and that the foundation's literally working on a cure for that. We're at an early stage, and so, he, in the COVID days, accelerated the vaccine innovation. So I, was asking him if maybe the same kind of thing could be done here, and we both got, I think, pretty excited about that. We talked about polio, where, we're very close to getting that done, but if you stop, it'll spread back. And so I explained why it's been tough in Pakistan, Afghanistan. We've had cases show up in Gaza. We have cases in Africa. And he was fascinated to hear what he could do to maximize the chance that during the next 4 years, that incredible milestone will be achieved. I felt like he was, energized and, looking forward to helping to drive innovation. I was frankly impressed with how well he showed a lot of interest in the issues I brought up.
Some people say, and I'm one of these people, this is a guy who's not to be trusted. And why would Trump meet with him? But I truly believe that it's keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Trump is the kind of guy who would meet and has met with adversaries on a regular basis, because the more he knows about them, the more he has to work against them or defend against them,
Right. And many times you can find common ground. And
yes.
If there's common ground, take advantage of it. Don't just poo-poo it and throw it away. Take advantage of it. He's intrigued because some of the things on his plate, okay, I'm cool with that. Polio.
HIV, yep.
HIV, I totally believe it was probably invented by the government. It's got to be cured by the government. Polio, different horse of a different color. There were people that grew up that got the polio shot and had the scar. And then the other people that didn't get the polio shot or something a different way.
Right.
But I was surprised that it's still around. And when I was young, I remember getting a lot of shots. I don't have a scar, so I don't remember getting the polio shot. But the interesting thing is I had a friend. I've mentioned it before. When I was a kid growing up, he had polio. But, not a lot was known then, and we would sit there and we'd go up to Ronnie's Mart, a little market where we lived, and go up there and, we might have had 50 cents in our pocket or 25 cents. We could buy one club soda. So we'd go up there, as kids do, kicking rocks and whatever. And we'd go get that soda, and then we would be walking back and open it up. I'd take a swig, pass it over. He'd take a swig, pass it over. Technically, I guess you could say we were swap and spit. So I was live virus to that. I don't have polio.
Well, the thing is, they had two different. If I have my facts right here, they had the Salk vaccine and the Sabin vaccine. They had two different polio vaccines, and I think one of them gave you the scar, that circle in bullseye on your shoulder. The other one didn't. I got the polio vaccine that didn't leave a scar. So you may have been vaccinated and you just didn't know about it. You
may have, and that might be the reason that I never had a problem. Generally speaking, though, they say, there's still, even if you got the vaccination, you don't do that. And so, hindsight's 2020.
Right.
But, there are things that we need to know about it. And if we can get to the cures, I tend to say pharmaceutical companies, and let me just put it this way. With Bill Gates, he's about money. Now, if he can create a problem and maybe make money just by keeping the problem going, that's where he is. But if he can make more money by finding the cure for certain problems,
All right, I got a question
I think
for
he's
you. I got a little curveball
Homework?
for you here. Yeah,
All right.
let's say he's saying that he was there talking about vaccines and things like that. But do you remember who was one of the frequent visitors to Epstein Island? One of the frequent flyers on the Lolita Express?
Yeah, Bill
It
Gates.
was Bill Gates. Now, all of a sudden, you have President Trump coming into office, and he has said that he's going to make the names public. The world will know who participated in those liaisons on that tawdry island.
Okay, let's carry that thought. So I don't think Trump is going to sit there and alter, the list. But if you're on that list, perhaps your good deeds could outweigh the bad deeds to where who's going to be the final judge and jury about what happens to the people that were there.
So you think that
Or is
maybe
it just
Gates
going to be
pled his case? Is that what you're saying? Maybe when he talked with Trump?
He said, I was surprised I was there for 3 hours. He thought that Elon Musk
Right.
was going to be there, but it was just Trump. So Trump is sitting there with Gates and two of Gates' advisors,
Right.
and, the people that he trusts, his inner circle.
Yeah.
So they talked about more than HIV, and they
Yes.
talked,
What's
and
interesting?
polio.
The other thing is this: if you had said to Trump or talked about Trump 3 or 4 years ago and said that you're going to be close friends with Elon Musk, I would imagine people would have said, "Oh, that's never going to happen. Musk is a left-leaning techie, and he's not going to be that." And yet, they're apparently very close. And even guys like Mark Zuckerberg, all of a sudden Zuckerberg seems to be moving towards the right, or at least towards center. He was way off to the left. Maybe he's decided there's no future for him or his business. But is Zuckerberg more just business?
Well, I think Zuckerberg, unless he proves otherwise, he's trying to say that he was kind of forced into it. Well, time will tell that. I think he goes with the wind. Elon Musk came over without any persuasion
Right.
on his own.
I mean, he bought Twitter for what, $243 billion or something like that? An astronomical amount of money.
Yeah, if you're standing in it, it stinks and it doesn't look good. It's got to be what you think it is. And that's what Elon Musk looked at. He looked around and said, this is really, there's no horse in here.
But no one
This
held a
is-
gun to his head. By the way, I wanted to tell you, I thought this was interesting. A little side note. I looked at a list of the richest guys in 2024, and Musk tops the list. He's worth like $450 billion. And
He will be a trillionaire by the end of the year.
The second place guy is like $210 billion. It's like Musk is twice as much as the second place guy, maybe 2.5 times the wealth of the second place guy. That's how rich Musk is. And we talked about this. When he visits his friends, he stays at their homes.
Yeah.
He stays at their.
He doesn't own a house.
He has. I think he owns probably several houses. He probably can sleep on his plane. But the thing is, he has. When he goes to Mar-a-Lago, he loves. I think he may still have a suite at Mar-a-Lago.
He does.
And he's not freeloading. He pays. He
Oh,
pays
yeah.
for everything.
But there's so much he contributes too. So, look, if you were going to have a house guest, do you want, the carpetbagger down the street? I mean, I shouldn't say carpetbagger. Let's say, do you want the
Right.
construction guy that can, put in, some new carpet for you and spruce up your house? Well, yeah, you might. Or do you want Elon Musk who could sit there and say, yeah, you know what? Instead of fixing up this, I'll tell you what, I'll just buy a whole new house. How do you want it?
Yeah, he is. He's a character, and his wealth is. It holds no limits. He has more money than some small countries, some medium countries actually. That's how rich he is. And by the way, he had a failure with his latest launch. I think it was on Monday. They launched the biggest rocket, the biggest payload. It was a test, and they launched it into space, and then the booster, which is the biggest part of it, separated. And shortly after that, the main
second stage,
the main part of the rocket blew up, and they think it was because of an oxygen or a fuel leak. But the interesting part was the booster
was caught.
It was caught again. It's the second time the booster, and this was the biggest booster in the history of space. It came down, it lined itself up, and it landed on the pedestal, and it was caught for reuse in the future. Unbelievable. This guy's company, they'll fix the problem. They know what the problem is.
Now, they did ground it. They did ground SpaceX for a little while they investigate what went wrong.
The FAA
Apparently,
did,
there
right?
was some debris that...
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some debris that fell in some foreign islands. Nobody was hurt. But somebody going, yeah, there's a hole in my backyard where there wasn't a hole.
Yeah, but the way that company works is they'll fix it. They'll make everybody right, and they'll take the pieces that they can get, and they'll take it back to a warehouse, and they'll examine everything. Supposedly, Bill, they have other versions of the same rocket already in the assembly line stage.
Actually, they are building daily rockets, and I mean it's like a car factory. They're coming out. And because they build the shell, they put the stuff in it.
Yep.
It's kind of like a computer case. That case, the case can go on and on and on. Components inside change as the technology and the need changes.
They had dummy satellites on this rocket.
Yeah,
they were going to practice launching these satellites from this, which is the payload, from this new rocket. What happened, I think, to this rocket is the same thing that happened to, was it the Challenger or the Columbia, where one of the O-rings was leaking fuel, and that was what caused one of the shuttles to blow up back in the 80s.
Yeah, Morton Thiokol was the company that made the O-ring, but they made the O-ring for many jets, GE, everybody. They made them. The only reason I know that is a guy I used to go, younger days,
was
go
it
party
Morton
with.
Thiokol or Lockheed Martin?
Well, Morton Thiokol was the company that made those. Lockheed Martin would buy that stuff.
Okay.
Because I knew a guy that was a design engineer.
Yeah.
And the first thing he did when, you work for Morton Thiokol. I had nothing to do with that O-ring.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that anymore. He worked for Ford for a little while, and then he moved on, and now he's an entrepreneur and just sold a home for $700 million.
And he's not involved with O-rings. There's not one O-ring on his house.
No, there's no O-ring seals there. I can tell you that.
Hey, listen, my friend. We should remind people if they want a great cup of coffee, it's another Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, and it's available at rightsideshop.com. It's our online store where you can also get hats and cups and other little knickknacks, or as Bill would say,
swag.
And
I do say this about the coffee. This is the only coffee that you can publicly go,
yes, that's true. Yes.
When you drink it and sip it and enjoy it, you can share the sound.
I wish I could have shown you, for those of you who don't, most of us can't see what Bill's doing. Yes, but in your mind, I want you to, when he's taking that sip, I want you to see peace, solemnity. I want you to see a guy who's totally satisfied with life because he has the perfect coffee. Yeah.
You know, I got a line, but
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it alone.
Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee available at rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. And
Let's
of
hear
course,
it from the boys.
yeah,
They
they're
gotta
here.
sing.
Guys,
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
wake up on the right side with the Right Side Coffee.
And
Well,
you know what? If
what?
you don't go online right now and buy some Right Side Coffee,
Yes.
you're just wrong.
That's true. That's true. Don't be left out in the cold. Get
That's
some
right.
Right Side Coffee. Anyway, I
That's
think
right.
I think that's about it. It's an update program, a little shorter, but actually, we say
Yeah.
we always say it's a little shorter. It ends up being about an hour and change anyway. So, anything you want to add before we wrap this up, my friend?
Well, I was just looking to see. I mean, I have all kinds of notes here. See if there's anything that kind of stands out in my mind. You know what? It can just wait. It can just wait until Monday. We're going to have. I was going to talk about robots.
Listen,
Well, go ahead.
listen. This is just the end. Supposedly, reports suggest discussions are now underway to move Trump inauguration inside the White House and not in the Capitol Rotunda. I wonder what that's all about. Why would they do that? Is that security? That sounds like security to me.
Yeah, well, then that means, but see, if they got to move it from inside one part of the building to another part of the building, that means that they
No, that's in one building, the Capitol building. Now they're going
another building.
To another building. Yeah, the White House.
So that means there's security issues.
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. They got some.
Yeah.
They got word something's up. They must.
And just a fun thing, I was looking at a story on robotics and human robotics and stuff like that, and they say these robots now, and I looked at them. They are so at a convention, they're so human-like.
Yeah.
And they talk to you. They have the spongy like skin that they look human.
Right.
And apparently they're going to be cheaper than buying a car. And I'm sitting there going, I can see two things that are going to go on. Number one, somebody loses their spouse. They could probably replicate their spouse, for a companion. But I would also see other people, sitting there going, yeah,
Is there something wrong with the world that pushes for the right to exterminate human babies, but yet is designing phony humans to live with them?
Well, I guess they do want to depopulate. Now, I don't see where a robot should replace the natural progress of human life.
You know what's really strange, and I can say this from personal experience, but I actually find myself talking to Alexa.
Well, yeah, when that first came out, I know a guy, he's still alive. He's in his 80s, but he was so happy because, he had been not a widower, a divorcee for a long time. And he was going, he called me one time and said, man, I'm really happy. I said, why? He goes, I got someone to talk to.
Well, I would go out normally tonight, but we're having a conversation in a few minutes and I can't leave the house.
Yeah, but now these robots, so I can see where somebody might have, just a companion. Now, but these robots are getting more sophisticated to where they're sentient, so are we going to have robot counselors for robots that have lost their...
No, I do think we're going to see armies of robots. I think you're going to see robots doing the most dangerous fighting. They're going to also be equipped with the most sophisticated weapons. They'll be able to go into areas that humans can't go into for fear of like poison and gas leaks and things like that. This is going to be we're in a new world, Bill. We're in a new world. I mean,
yeah, if you make an algorithm of a robot that's got to do some nasty killing, are we creating a new type of, criminal potential?
Look for a second. Already, right now, the Air Force has fighter jets that fly themselves. Right now, you don't know about it, but they have no pilot.
I have a story on a fighter jet.
Also, we have the Navy has ships that have no crew. They'll go out for months at a time. They're drones essentially, but they're all computerized AI. They actually they think through things, and then I guess if there's an issue, they can contact the home port and get a human input as to what to do. But they're out there right now.
They've got ships out there they might look like a little lifeboat, but they're black, they're stealth. They have a cover on the top, so they're all, they won't sink. And they're full of explosives, and they can track anything anywhere in the world. You give it a target, it'll go find its way to it and go right up to it undetected and detonate.
Well,
so
let me ask you a question. Do you think this is I know, folks, we already started talking about ending. We talked about ending the program, and here we are still talking. We apologize. We do this a lot. We do this on our personal conversations too. But
I can't shut this guy up.
Here's the thing: they're moving supposedly now the inauguration to the White House. Might it be because of, dare I say, drones? There was a lot of talk.
Been spotted flying around the White House.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if something does blow up.
Yes.
But in the White House, I understand in the Capitol building, beneath it are secure bunkers. They could shove him in a
he can stay for months, Bill. He can stay for months underneath the ground, and then they have escape routes from that.
Yeah, it's connected elsewhere. So, I don't want to scare the hell out of people. Let's just say that hopefully none of that's going to happen, but you never know. But you mentioned different things. You remember the spy plane that we have that's now retired, but Lockheed has been making
the SR-71. I think it's called.
Yes, but now the SR-72, which they don't know is ready yet, actually is out there flying. The SR-72, the son of Blackbird, is out there. Now, this particular version of it, with all the characteristics of the old one, is sleeker. It's faster. As a matter of fact,
that the old one has the land speed record from coast to coast still under 2 hours?
Well, this one can take off, fly to anywhere in the world in less than an hour, do its job, and get back before it's ever detected.
Wow. All right, then I guess
think about
maybe it really doesn't hold the old one does. But the old one,
son of Blackbird is.
Do you know the Blackbird? And you probably have seen the Blackbird, folks. It was the most advanced looking airplane ever made. It was, I think, designed originally like in 1969 or 70.
It was back in the 50s.
Yeah, it was the most incredible looking machine. But when they said when it would sit on the runway, it would leak fuel, and that was designed. It was supposed to leak fuel because when it's going so fast, it heats up and everything kind of locks into place. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it tightens up. So when it landed and it got cooler, it would leak. I thought that was interesting, a little factoid.
Yeah, the metal actually was, now see what I found interesting about that, because the metal would change shape and tighten up. Where did we see metal like that? If you ever get a chance to see any of the Roswell stuff,
it would
let you. They could take the metal, crumple it up, and it would.
It had what they call it. It had a memory. They said
yes, memory metal.
Yeah,
and it would go back into shape. Did we? But that was a weather balloon.
Well, you talk about the son of Blackbird. I bet you the difference is that the old one didn't have composites, and this one, the new one, is lighter and has composites.
Probably does. I mean, there's an SOB joke in here, too, but we're not going there. We probably should end the show.
Should we? Yeah. Are we for real now going to end the show, or are we going to just talk about it and then do another topic? I think we should end the show. Okay. Hey, listen, folks. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. This is no, I take that back. We're doing a show. We're doing a show on Monday morning, so we have one more show before the inauguration. But the latest news as of the recording of this program, it's almost 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time in the United States, is there are discussions going on to move the inauguration from the Capitol building to the White House, which I think is the Capitol would have been for weather. The White House, I think, is because of security. They don't want him moving around. They want him as secure can be. That's my opinion.
Well, the devious mind that I have,
Yes.
I don't trust anybody with any suggestion they have. Sometimes I would sit there and say, well, they're moving it to, how secure is the White House? We do know you can go in a bunker underneath.
Well, they can drop supposedly a nuclear device in Washington, and he can be in the bunker downstairs, and he'll survive it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to see what's going to go on here.
Yeah. We'll have more. We'll have more news for you on Monday morning. We'll know more about
hope
it.
for a great day on Monday. Be prepared for anything, as well you should be any day, because you never know. This is a crazy, messed up world, and just because Trump is president doesn't mean the insanity and the lunacy, lunacy goes away.
Well, what you said is interesting. It's so true. And nothing may happen on Inauguration Day, but it may happen on one of the subsequent days. Heck, they got 4 years to do their. Well, look at they almost killed him in Butler 6 months ago. So anyway, I'm done. I'm really done now. I'm just going to be quiet and let you sign off. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to sign off. Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.